So if you're new to Football Manager or you're just a bit baffled by the changes to the game, I've got a little beginner's guide here to how to do transfers in FM26. So I've loaded up a little Coventry save. I'm going to show you how the different ways in which you can do transfers in this game, because there are some things that have changed. So let's start off with the basics. So everything you want, or nearly everything you want, is going to be in this tab here, which is called recruitment. And then underneath that, you've got a whole load of sub-tabs and some extra ones over here. And of course, we've got tiles and cards that show all kinds of little things. You might want to pay attention, for example, to board objectives on what you do in your recruitment. So they don't want me to add more than 1 year for players over 34 and more than 2 for players over the age of 32. So they don't really want old players, essentially. So in this little Coventry save, we're going to see if we can buy in a couple of players, sell a couple of players, and just see how it works and show you guys the best way to do it. So the best thing to do to start off with is just familiarize yourself with this screen here, which is the second one, but I also clicked on that tile, which is the player database. And players who've played Football Manager before might be familiar with this, and this will show all the players in our database. Now, that is not every player loaded in the game. These are the ones right here on this little drop down who are persuadable to come to Coventry. If I put not considered, I will get a lot more players, and you can get even more once you do more scouting. It depends on what scouting network you have, which we can find on another screen. In fact, it's just down here, the scouting range. If I up that to 360k and I confirm, it's going to change the budget. It's going to cost me more money, but we will. If I refresh it, we might have to continue, but we will get more players here. So let's go back to transfer or loan, persuadable. So these are all the players, let's say, who are realistic buys for Coventry this season, or in some cases free transfers or loans. So you can see actually these ones without a club, these will be free transfers. Falcao, Pjanic, Amate, they'd actually be really good in the Championship. Mikel Antonio could do great for a team like Coventry. Over on the right hand side here, you might already have some scout ratings for them. So this one right here is an A+ on Mikel Antonio. So they think he would be a really good get for the team. Now, okay, let's say I see one of these free agents. You can also see over here, FRA. It will all be on Pjanic, but it's underneath. You have to sort of hover over if you see this little bracket. If you right click on one of them, let's go for Mikel Antonio. The first thing you're going to want to do is talk to the agent about the player's availability. You're going to have a little conversation about what he wants, what we want. So we can say, hey, we're interested or we're slightly interested. Let's say we're slightly interested. And he's going to say, okay, Mikel Antonio wants between 50 and 70k. Now, that is a lot of money. I probably look at my remaining wage budget and I have only 5k left a week and he wants 50. So if we go back in. So if we say, okay, that's too high. Let's see if he drops it. He's dropped it slightly, 45 to 63. Probably too much. So I'm just going to stall that. And we'll come back to Mikel Antonio later. Now, the thing to remember is across the window, if Mikel Antonio doesn't have a club and we're getting towards September 1st or we've passed September the 1st, he's going to ask for a lot lower money. He wants to get a club. He wants to get paid. At the minute, though, we're at the start of the window. He probably thinks he can get money similar to what he was on at West Ham. So this is the player database. Now, you can also narrow it down in here. You can select players by certain positions. You can add in, if you go pick attributes, you can choose which attributes and how high you want them. You can add in other conditions, like if they are, then you want them from the UK, or you want them, what position. You can put position down here. You can put homegrown status as well, which is probably be a bit more easy actually than having the nationality as English. So we can say, okay, I want players who are homegrown because they're not going to cause work permit problems, particularly useful if you're in the lower leagues. Hey, this is a better selection of players. Or if you're in somewhere like Italy as well, where you have stricter restrictions on what players you can bring in. There are also a few quick filters here, which are quite useful. So one really useful one is contract expired, and you'll see all those players who are free agents are shown right here. One or two are expired at their current clubs, but all those are shown here. There are some other ones. So you might say you just want to look at the defenders quickly. You can do that. You just want to look at loan listed players quickly. You can do that. So maybe Sakarian might be an interesting loan to get in. I might want to go in and make an offer for him. So we then come into this screen again. Now, once again, I am going to want to speak to the agent first because I sort of want to get an idea of how much the wages are. I don't have to, but it tends to be a good idea. So we're keen on signing because he also will say how much the club roughly wants for the player, 37 to 45 million. Now, those of you who've played Football Manager before will be familiar with this. This is all similar stuff to FM24 and earlier. Some of the stuff that I'm going to show you in a minute is a little bit different, so feel free to skip ahead. So let's say, I think he said he wasn't interested, so we can go, let's make an offer anyway. So we make an offer. He has a minimum fee release clause. Always keep an eye on that. I think he's loan listed, right? So actually we were going to go in for the loan. So that's why they probably won't transfer, but he might be more interested in a loan. So their demands are over here on the right. This is their director of football telling me what they want. Over on the right here, we have all our restrictions from our own director of football and how much we have to pay and things like that. So if we actually here, an optional future fee of 47 million, but that's an optional one. I could add a mandatory one instead if I wanted. Keep an eye on those. Could be a good way to get rid of players as well. Get them out on loan and then get the deal later. Now, paying monthly fee of 89k, unused monthly fee of 89k, and then the wages of 70% at 16k a week. I mean, that's almost the same. I might as well be paying no monthly fee and just paying his wages. But for some reason, they've balanced out here. In fact, that's more. You'd be paying more this way. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to offer them what we want. We're going to suggest the terms. The director of football agrees. If he disagrees, he'll make his suggestions, and you can go back and forth over what you think is acceptable. Maybe they will pull out as well. We can make the offer. So that deal is now in for a loan for Arsene Zakarian. So that's how you sort of use the player database. Now, there are other things we can look at within this recruitment. So we can go into the player recommendations, and these are players that your scouts or your director of football are recommending that Coventry sign. So in this case, we've got Jordan Clark. I can switch it to a list if I want, and I can go down. We can look at each of these reports. So we can look at Lewis Farini. We can look at Charlie Savage. If you don't like any of these reports, you can just go ahead and discard them, get rid of them. There you go. He's gone from my list of reports. Now Isaac Davies, we're not going to recommend him. So all these players are players that your scout's reporting. There's about 19 of them. They're all roughly in that age range that we want. I think the oldest one there is Jordan Clark at 31. There's not 32-year-olds, so they're mostly fitting what we need for our club. You can see a lot of them are Premier League or Championship, a couple of League One players already. If I'm looking at it through the card system, I can press keep report or discard report here. We can just go back and forth, keep the ones we want, discard the ones we don't. Now, your recruitment focuses is what's going to set that. We'll do a separate video on scouting, but that's essentially where that's going to come in. You can add players to shortlists as well. Players that you bid on automatically go on your shortlist. So you can see Mikel Antonio and Zakarian have both gone onto there. But I'm actually going to come back to this overview page here because there are a couple of new ways of also buying and selling players. So if you come down to the bottom right, you'll see transfer room out, and just behind my head is transfer room in. It looks the same, but it just says in instead of out. Transfer room out are like adverts that every other club is putting out for what they want for their team. So what we want to find is, let's see, all of these are teams that have players that we might have. So Wrexham are looking for a wing back on the left who will fit a squad player. Now, the director of football has a couple of questions for me. The first is, do I want to create similar requirements? Let's say I'm looking for the same thing. I can just press that. Or he's saying Jake Bidwell, who we are transfer listing, matches what Wrexham want. So we go into offer directly to them, and we'll say, we can unspecify it, or we can say exactly what we want. And we can offer the player. We can also talk to the director of football about generating market interest. And we can also transfer list him down here, although he is actually already transfer listed. And we can also say we can explore offers until a certain amount of time. But we're going to offer him out, in particular, to Wrexham here. So let's offer him, and let's see what they say. Equally, there are teams looking for loan players. So it might be, let's say, Swansea are looking for a loan player. We can offer one of those two. Let's offer Van Uyck as a loan to Swansea. Let's say you can have him on a loan, but you got to pay his wages, and we'll offer him out. And they'll come back to us in a couple of days as to whether that fits their needs and that's who they want to get. But it's a good way to get rid of some players. You go looking, you can filter it. Let's say you only want to see the teams that are looking for left backs. If we select only left backs, it appears to be giving me non-left backs. I don't know why it's done that, but it has given me non-left backs. I think that's a bug at the minute. But we can see Ipswich want a left back. We can offer either of these two players to Ipswich. So let's offer them Jay Da Silva, and we'll offer him and see what they come back with. Now, you can also do this. So down at the bottom here, you can press transfer room in. You can also get to it from the overview page. Click roughly where my head is right now, and we can create the requirements for what we want. We want a striker. We want them to be centre forward. We want them between 15 and 27, and we want them to be, let's say, a regular starter for our team. And out of possession, you can select a role as well, probably also, or maybe we want an AM. We want someone sat a bit deeper, tracking attacking midfielder. So we want them forward at the front and then tracking back at the back. Maybe this is the kind of striker we'd like. We can go ahead, and that has now been created. And when people respond, they're going to show up here. So in a couple of weeks, there might be some people who make some suggestions for players like that. So you can see here, some of those have come back in. So the Sakarian loan has been accepted. Loan offers for Van Uwijk as well. Several clubs have actually put in the loan offers. If I want, I can delegate that out as well, or I can view all the offers myself. Let's say I like both of these. I can accept them, tick them. I can reject other ones. We can also look at the other offers that have come in here or out. So this Jake Bidwell one. So Wrexham decided to offer. They offered 0. I think that was my mistake. I accidentally put it on the other screen. If you rewind, you'll probably see that I did that by accident. But let's see how much we could actually see if we can get a bit more money for them. They might not do it now, but let's say, how much is he worth? Jake Bidwell is worth, I mean, maybe he's only worth 0. Let's see if they'll go for 500k. Okay, they want 0. We'll take it just to show what happens. Let's go through. You can see actually what's happening in this case is because it was too low, the board have intervened. So I've now offered it to them for 450k. So Wrexham are back in with that. They have now accepted that they are going to have to pay some money, and it was an error on the paperwork. So we can accept that. He'll go off to meet them. Ipswich have decided that they don't actually want Jada Silva, so that one didn't go through. So we come back to our requirement here. It's been a few days, and we can have a look, and we can always change it. We've actually had a response. Only one player, Randy Nteka from Rayo Vallecano. I mean, that's not a bad suggestion. There you go. Good little potential championship player there. Good little target forward. 6'2". Bit of pace on him. You know, maybe the technicals could be a little bit better. 27 years old. 6.4 million. This is probably about where we should be looking at Coventry. So let's see if we can make this one happen. Let's ask the agent. Say we're keen on signing. They want about 6 million. He wants 18 to 24, which might be a little bit on the high side. We haven't really got that much money. We've only got 2 million in our transfer budget. So we probably can't make this one go through unless we have players go out. But we're going to give it a go anyway. I'm going to offer him a bit less. Let's offer him 2.5. Now, one thing I have noticed in this game, and the game is about to bite me, is that they are much more willing to negotiate, both players and clubs. So you can try and offer a little bit less. We've already got them down from that 6.4. We're down to about 5.5. I mean, that's higher. Is that higher? I'm going to offer them 1 million on this. You say semi-negotiable. You can sort of... Okay, they want this. Do they want this or they want a little bit more? They said the last one was unacceptable. So I did say, okay, let's see whether they respond to that one. And so here is an example of what happens when a deal is accepted. Either way, Jake Bidwell, he's on his way out. We can delay it, we can accept it, or we can even delegate it. So we're going to accept it, and he'll be off on his way to Wrexham. If we finish this deal up for Nteka, equally it will do the same thing to go back the other way. I've ended up having to offer 6,500, so that's not going to go through because I don't have that money. But you can do that to do your transfer. So hopefully that helps you a little bit if you're new to the game or you're just wondering where things are in the new game, how to do those transfers and how to make those transfers happen. So if you're looking for some more guides on Football Manager, make sure you go check out some of these over here. If this was helpful, please press the like button, the hype button, whatever button you have down below, subscribe button, any of them. It'll help me out a lot, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.